For 3 years, I'd thrown everything I had at winning over Clara Sterling. She was an iceberg, and I was the Titanic, heading straight for disaster. She'd never even let me hold her hand. But her best friend, Scarlett, a beautiful, five-alarm fire of a woman, was a different story. She was always trying to get me into bed. Every time we met, she'd lean in close, her breath warm against my ear. "Clara doesn't want you," she'd whisper. "But I do. Come on, give it a try. I'm really good, you know." I always figured it was just some twisted game to her. Until that night, when she cornered me in my hotel room. "Last chance," she said, her eyes dark. "Are you sure you don't want me?" Just then, the door was thrown open. Clara stood in the doorway, her face as white as a sheet. A bomb went off in my head. I was screwed. "My name is Ethan Miller. I'm just a regular guy, some cog in a corporate marketing machine. The most persistent, all-consuming thing I've ever done in my life is chase Clara Sterling. For 3 solid years. She was the undisputed queen of our office. The kind of beautiful that stops conversations. Long, dark hair, skin like porcelain, and an aura of untouchable cool. A walking, talking ice sculpture. It was love at first sight for me. And so began my long, pathetic career as her biggest fan. Every morning, I brought her coffee, no matter what. If it rained, I was there with an umbrella. If she worked late, I stayed late, too, just to keep her company. I replied to her texts the second they came in, but she always kept me at arm's length. My texts would get one-word answers hours later. She accepted all my gifts, but if I so much as brush her hand, she'd pull away. My friends all call me a simp. They said I didn't have a chance, that a goddess like Clara was looking for a C-suite exec, not a cubicle drone like me. I didn't believe them. I thought if I just kept trying, I could melt that glacier. Then her best friend, Scarlett Jones, showed up and blew everything to hell. I met Scarlett for the first time at a friend's party. In a shocking turn of events, Clara had actually agreed to go with me, and she brought Scarlett along. Honestly, the first time I saw Scarlett, I was floored. She and Clara were polar opposites. Clara was ice, Scarlett was fire. She had waves of dark curls, eyes that seemed to pull you in, and lips so red they looked like a dare. Her body was pure hourglass, poured into a simple black slip dress that looked anything but simple on her. Her gaze felt like it had hooks. Every guy in the room was stuck on her. "This is my best friend, Scarlett," Clara said, her tone flat. I gave a polite nod. "Hey, nice to meet you." Scarlett looked me up and down, her interest completely undisguised. A slow smile spread across her red lips. "So you're the devoted one who's been chasing our Clara for 3 years," she purred. "You're cuter than I expected." I managed a weak, embarrassed smile. "Thanks, I guess." I spent most of the party orbiting Clara, getting her drinks, bringing her snacks. She barely reacted, just murmured a few quiet words to Scarlett now and then. Scarlett, meanwhile, watched me the entire time with a knowing, half-amused look that made my skin crawl. When the party was winding down, I went to grab Clara's coat. Scarlett suddenly appeared at my side, her heavy, sweet perfume clouding my senses. She leaned in so close her lips almost brushed my ear. "Hey, Romeo," she whispered, her voice a low thrum only I could hear. "Clara's not into your type. She wants a guy who's already at the top. Some finance bro with a penthouse. You don't have a shot." A knot of irritation tightened in my stomach, but I kept my voice even. "Thanks for the tip, but I'm not giving up." Scarlett let out a soft laugh, her warm breath tickling my ear. "You're so naive, it's almost cute." She paused. "But I'm into your type. So what do you say? Want to consider your options?" I froze, sure I'd misheard her, but she had already stepped back, linking her arm through Clara's. She shot me a wink over her shoulder. "We're leaving. See you around, Ethan, darling." That darling was so syrupy and suggestive it gave me goosebumps. As I watched them walk away, my mind was a total mess. What the hell was Scarlett's deal? From then on, she was relentless. She somehow got my number and added me on Instagram. At first, it was just liking my posts. Then came the DMs. "What's up? Playing the loyal puppy for Clara again today. Did you bring her coffee this morning?" I usually ignored them or just sent back a single thumbs-up emoji. She didn't care. She'd just keep messaging, sometimes teasing me, sometimes sharing random things about her day, a new dress she bought, a restaurant she tried. She even started sending me selfies in revealing outfits, asking if I thought she looked good. I never knew how to respond, so I'd just leave her on read. The worst part was when she started showing up outside my office building, claiming she was waiting for Clara, but she'd always find me first. "Looking sharp today, Ethan. Want to grab a drink?" "Just us. I know a hotel nearby with some seriously soundproof walls." She was always so blunt, so shameless. I'd end up practically running away from her every time. My coworkers started gossiping. saying some knockout brunette was chasing me. I tried to explain she was Clara's best friend, but nobody believed me. Yeah, right? A woman who looks like that is into you. She's playing you, dude. I knew that. Of course I knew she was playing me. A woman like her could have any man she wanted. Why would she ever be serious about me? She was just having fun, messing with my head, getting a thrill out of poaching her best friend's admirer. So I kept my distance. I avoided her whenever I could, but I never imagined she'd be so bold. One night, the company had a happy hour that turned into a late-night karaoke session. It was almost midnight when we finally stumbled out. I'd had a few too many and was standing on the curb, head spinning, waiting for my Uber. A red Porsche Boxster screeched to a halt in front of me. The window rolled down, revealing Scarlett's radiant, smiling face. Well, if it isn't Ethan Miller. All alone out here. A little drunk, are we? I nodded, feeling a flush of embarrassment. Waiting for my ride. Scarlett's smile widened. Forget the Uber. Get in. I'll take you home. I immediately waved my hands. No, that's okay. I don't want to trouble you. No trouble at all. It's on my way. She insisted, but I kept refusing. Seriously, it's fine. The Uber's almost here. Scarlett stared at me for a long moment. Then her expression hardened. She pushed her door open and got out, walking straight up to me. She was dressed even more daringly tonight, in a tight mini dress that left nothing to the imagination. The dress hugged curves that seemed to defy physics. A gust of wind blew her perfume directly into my face, a heady, intoxicating scent. I took an instinctive step back, but she closed the distance, her body almost flush against mine. Ethan, she dropped the usual playful act. Her gaze was dead serious. Do you really hate me that much? I shook my head quickly. No, it's not that. Just what? She cut me off. You think I'm just some flirt? That this is all a game to me? I didn't say anything, which was answer enough. Scarlett suddenly laughed a low, throaty sound. If I was just playing with you, do you really think I'd have kept it up this long? Ethan, look at me. She reached out and placed her hand gently on my chest. I stiffened. I'm actually interested in you. Clara doesn't appreciate you, but I would. Just give me a chance. Please. Her eyes seemed to glow in the dim street lights, filled with a sincerity I'd never seen in them before. For a dizzying second, my heart hammered against my ribs. Then, reality came crashing back. I pushed her hand away. Scarlett, you're drunk. My Uber is here. I have to go. Without waiting for a reply, I practically dove into the back of the Toyota Camry that had just pulled up. Through the rear window, I saw her standing on the sidewalk, watching me go, her expression completely blank. Her eyes were cold enough to give me chills. I quickly turned away, my heart still racing. After that night, Scarlett went quiet. No more texts, no more ambushes at the office. I was relieved, but also strangely disappointed. I mean, come on. Any guy would have his head turned by a woman that beautiful chasing him so relentlessly. But I knew it was impossible. Even if I was interested, the fact that she was Clara's best friend made it a total non-starter. Time to refocus on my iceberg. I asked Clara to go to an art exhibit with me that weekend, and to my shock, she agreed. I was so excited I barely slept. The next day, I got up early, put on my one expensive suit, and even got a haircut. I showed up at the museum a half hour early just to wait. She arrived right on time, wearing a simple white dress that made her look like an angel. I just stood there, staring. She gave me a cool glance. Let's go in. The gallery was quiet, not too crowded. We walked side by side, occasionally making small talk about the art, but mostly walking in silence. Still, I was ecstatic. This was the first time in 3 years she'd agreed to go out with me. Just the two of us. This was progress. We rounded a corner, and a familiar voice cut through the silence. Well, look at this. Clara? Ethan? What a coincidence. My entire body went rigid. I turned around, and there was Scarlett, a bright, innocent smile plastered on her face. Today she was dressed in a surprisingly demure linen dress, her hair pinned up loosely. She looked less like a seductress and more like a poet, but those eyes still had the same dangerous spark as they landed on me. Clara looked surprised, too. Scarlett? What are you doing here? Just admiring the art, she said, walking over and linking her arm through Clara's other one. Guess we had the same idea. Let's all go together. You don't mind, do you, Ethan? She winked at me. What could I say? I forced a smile. Not at all. And just like that, our date for two became a painfully awkward party of three. The whole time, Scarlett clung to Clara's side, but her foot would accidentally bump against mine, or her leg would brush my calf. Every time it happened, she'd shoot me a look of pure innocence. I felt like I was walking on eggshells, trying to keep my distance. Clara, meanwhile, seemed completely oblivious, her attention fixed on the paintings. After the museum, I suggested we all get dinner. Before Clara could answer, Scarlett jumped in. Yes, I know the perfect place nearby. It's amazing. The place she chose was an upscale fusion restaurant with dim, romantic lighting and prices that made my wallet weep. But for Clara, I gritted my teeth and went with it. When we sat down, Scarlett deliberately chose the seat across from me. The table was small, and her leg kept finding its way over to mine, rubbing against me under the table. I'd shift away, and she'd just follow. It got more and more brazen. I shot her a glare, but she just propped her chin on her hand and looked at me with wide, guileless eyes. "What's wrong, Ethan?" "Not hungry. You look a little flushed." Clara looked over at me. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine, totally fine," I choked out. I sweated my way through the entire meal. When it was finally over, I practically lunged for the check, but the waiter informed me that it had already been taken care of by the lady. I stared at Scarlett. She gave me a smug little smirk. "You can get next time," she said, "and I'll be sure to pick somewhere even more expensive." Outside the restaurant, Clara said she was tired and wanted to head home. I was about to offer her a ride, but Scarlett cut me off, grabbing her arm. "I'll take Clara home. Don't you worry about a thing. You get home safe, Ethan." As she spoke, while Clara wasn't looking, she silently mouthed 5 words to me. "Next time, you're not getting away." I just stood there on the sidewalk, watching them drive off, a cold dread creeping in my spine. This woman was serious. Her hand was still on my shoulder. The proximity was killing me. I instinctively glanced at Clara, but she was just scrolling on her phone, completely oblivious. A wave of disappointment washed over me. I gritted my teeth and downed 2 more shots. The tequila burned a trail down my throat, and my head started to feel fuzzy. My friends started a loud game of dice. I was terrible at it and lost round after round, which meant more drinks. By the end, the whole room was swaying. I needed to splash some water on my face. I staggered to my feet and made my way toward the restrooms. The bar was a chaotic mess of noise and flashing lights, and my brain wasn't processing any of it correctly. Suddenly, a pair of hands steadied me from behind. "Too much to drink." It was Scarlett's voice. I tried to shrug her off, but she held on tighter, her soft body pressing against my back. "Let me help you." "Don't touch me." I mumbled, but I had no strength. She half-carried, half-dragged me to the hallway by the restrooms where it was slightly less crowded. I leaned against the wall, trying to catch my breath. "You can go. I'm fine." But she didn't leave. She stood in front of me, her eyes shining in the dim light. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft but clear over the distant music. "Are you really that in love with Clara?" I nodded dumbly. "I am." "So, in love you can't even see me?" She reached up, her cool fingers tracing the line of my jaw. "What does she have that I don't? I'm prettier. My body's better. I know how to make a man happy. And most importantly," she rose on her toes, her lips brushing my ear, her breath hot and moist. "I want you. Right now." My whole body went rigid. The drunkenness evaporated, replaced by a shot of pure adrenaline. "You're crazy." I tried to push her away, but she grabbed my hand and pressed it against her chest. The soft, full curve of her breast made my scalp tingle. "I am crazy," she whispered, her eyes glazed over. "I've been crazy since the first time I saw you. Why should Clara get to have you and not even want you? Why can't I have you? Ethan, just take me. Right here." To my horror, she started fumbling with the buckle of my belt. Panic shot through me. I shoved her away with all my strength. "Scarlett, that's enough." I practically roared. She stumbled back, hitting the opposite wall. She just stared at me, her expression shifting from hazy desire to shock, and finally to a cold, hard fury. "Ethan," she said, slowly straightening up and smoothing her dress. "You're going to regret this." With that, she turned and walked away. I sagged against the wall, gasping for air, my heart about to pound its way out of my chest. That woman was dangerous. I had to stay away from her. From that day on, I went into full avoidance mode. I ignored her texts, declined her calls. When she showed up at the office, I'd sneak out the back. After a few tries, she seemed to get the message and stopped trying. I breathed a sigh of relief and went back to my single-minded pursuit of Clara. But now, she was even colder than before. Her replies to my texts grew even slower, and she started turning down my gifts. I started to panic, wondering what I'd done wrong. A friend of mine spelled it out for me. "Dude, did you piss off Scarlett? What did she say to Clara?" My stomach dropped. I remembered Scarlett's parting words. "You're going to regret this." So this was her revenge. I couldn't stop myself. I sent Scarlett a text. "What did you tell Clara?" She replied almost instantly with a single smiling emoji. Guess. I wanted to throw my phone against the wall, but there was nothing I could do. My only option was to try even harder with Clara, hoping to win her back. Our firm landed a massive new client, and the whole team went into crunch mode. We were pulling all-nighters for nearly a month straight. When the project finally launched successfully, Our CEO was so thrilled, he gave everyone a 3-day weekend and a hefty bonus. I took that bonus check, swallowed hard, and made a reservation at the most expensive restaurant in the city. It was time to lay all my cards on the table and officially tell Clara how I felt. I texted her the invitation the day before. No reply. I called. It went to voicemail. I was worried, but I wasn't going to back out now. The next evening, I arrived at the restaurant on time. I waited for an hour. Clara never showed. I texted her. Nothing. I called. Her phone was off. I sat there, surrounded by happy couples, a cold pit forming in my stomach. The waiter kept coming over, asking if I was ready to order. I kept telling him I was waiting for someone. Finally, the restaurant started closing up. She wasn't coming. I walked out of the restaurant feeling completely hollow. Why? Even if she didn't like me, why stand me up like this? Without a word of explanation. I pulled out my phone, about to try calling one last time when a call came in from a friend. Ethan, have you seen Instagram? Seen what? Scarlett's new post. Confused, I hung up and opened the app. The first thing in my feed was a post from Scarlett, uploaded 10 minutes ago. It was a carousel of photos from an even fancier restaurant than the one I was at. In the pictures, Scarlett was all smiles, cozied up next to a man. My boss, our 60-year-old, bald as a cue ball CEO. The last photo was a group shot. Clara was in it, sitting on the other side of Scarlett, offering a faint smile to the camera. The caption read, "Celebrating my bestie, finding her person. Congrats, Clara. So happy for you." Smiling face with hearts. I stared at the photo, feeling like I'd been struck by lightning. My body went numb. The phone slipped from my hand and hit the pavement with a sickening crack. The screen spiderwebbed, a perfect reflection of how I felt inside. So that was it. She'd stood me up because she had a better offer, a better target. My boss. He was definitely richer, more successful. He was the C-suite exec I could never be. Scarlett had been right all along. Clara was never into my type. She wanted that. And me? I was the punchline to a 3-year-long joke. I stood on the sidewalk, watching the traffic rush by, feeling an overwhelming sense of exhaustion. It was all so pointless. I bent down and picked up my shattered phone. A shard of glass cut my finger, and a bead of blood welled up, but I couldn't feel it. The pain in my chest was so much worse. I took a deep breath and stood up. I was ready to go home. I turned around and stopped dead. Scarlett was standing right behind me. I had no idea how long she'd been there. She was still in her expensive dress, a coat draped over her shoulders. Her cheeks were flushed from wine, and she was watching me with a complicated expression. "You saw it?" she asked softly. I didn't answer. I just stared at her. Scarlett stepped closer. "I told you," she said. "She doesn't love you, and you wouldn't believe me." I remained silent. She sighed and reached out to touch my face. I recoiled, and her hand froze in midair. "Ethan," she said, her voice gentle. "Give up. She's not worth it." A bitter laugh escaped my lips. "And who is?" "You." Scarlett paused, then a slow smile spread across her face. "Yes, me. I'm worth more than her. At least I actually want you. Right now." She stepped forward again, closing the space between us. "Come with me. To my place. Or a hotel. Let me take care of you." The raw desire in her eyes was unmistakable. I looked at her, at that stunning face, and was suddenly filled with a profound sense of disgust. "Scarlett," I said, my voice ice cold, "do you just think I'm apathetic? That because Clara doesn't want me, I'll just come crawling into your bed?" Her expression faltered. "That's not what I meant." "Then what did you mean?" I cut her off, my voice rising. "Hitting on me, harassing me, sabotaging any chance I had with Clara, and now that she's found her rich old man, you swoop in to pick up the leftovers? Is that it, Scarlett? Am I just her sloppy seconds to you?" My words were cruel, and they hit their mark. The color drained from her face. She bit her lip, a flash of genuine hurt in her eyes. But just as quickly, it was gone, replaced by that familiar, reckless smirk. "Yeah," she said, her voice brittle. "That's exactly what I think. What's it to you?" She lifted her chin. "I'm giving you one last chance, Ethan. Come with me now, or you lose me forever." I stared at her for a long, hard moment. Then I smiled. "Good. I can't wait." I turned my back on her and walked away, not giving her a second glance. After I'd gone about a block, I couldn't help myself. I looked back. Scarlett was still standing in the same spot, a lonely figure under the streetlight. Her head was bowed, and her shoulders were shaking slightly, as if she were crying. A strange pang hit my chest, but I hardened my heart and kept walking. A woman like that didn't deserve my sympathy. It was all part of the act. Back in my apartment, I collapsed onto my bed, utterly drained. My mind was a chaotic mess, flashing between Clara's cold smile and Scarlett's tear-streaked face. I ran my hands through my hair in frustration. How'd I get tangled up with these two women? One used me as a backup plan, the other as a toy. Neither of them gave a damn about me. Just then my phone buzzed. It was Scarlett. I hit decline. She called again. I declined again. After a few more rounds of this, a text popped up. Come down. I'm outside your building. If you don't come down, I'm coming up. I dragged myself to the window and looked down. Sure enough, her red Porsche was parked at the curb. Scarlett was leaning against it, looking up at my window. I scowled and texted back. What's the point of this? Go home. Her reply was instantaneous. If you don't come down, I'll start screaming. I'll scream until the whole neighborhood hears. I mean it. My teeth clenched. The woman was a psycho. Fearing she'd actually do it, I threw on a jacket and went downstairs. What the hell do you want? I snapped as I reached her. She seemed even drunker now, her eyes unfocused, barely able to stand straight. Ethan. She lurched forward and threw her arms around me. The smell of alcohol was overpowering. Please, be with me. I really like you. I've liked you since the first moment I saw you. She was sobbing now, her tears soaking the front of my jacket. I tried to push her away. You're drunk. You need to go home. No. She clung to me tighter. You have to come with me, or I'm not leaving. Then, to my horror, she started tugging at the straps of her own dress. Look, don't you like my body? It's better than Clara's. I grabbed her hands, mortified. Are you insane? We're in front of my building. She just giggled, a broken sound. Yes, I'm insane. You drove me insane. She suddenly surged up on her toes and pressed her lips to mine. I froze, my mind going completely blank. Her lips were soft, tasting of wine and desperation. And then, to my eternal shame, my body responded. Just as I felt myself losing control, a pair of blinding headlights washed over us, followed by the screech of tires. I shoved Scarlett away and turned toward the car. It was a familiar sedan, a familiar license plate. It was Clara's car. The door opened and Clara got out, her face a ghostly white. She stared at us, her eyes wide with a shock and disappointment I had never seen before. Clara, this isn't what it looks like, I stammered. But she just looked at me with cold fury, then shifted her gaze to Scarlett. Incredibly, Scarlett just smiled and gave her a little wave. Clara, you're here. Ethan just told me he likes me. My blood ran cold. What are you talking about? Clara took a deep breath. Congratulations, she said, her voice dripping with ice. Then she got back in her car and sped off into the night. I stood there, frozen to the spot. It was over. It was all over. Scarlett was still smiling. Well, looks like you're out of options now. You're all mine. I turned my head slowly and pinned her with a look of pure hatred. Are you happy now? She tilted her head. Happy? Ecstatic. I looked at her beautiful, despicable face, and all the rage and frustration of the past 3 years boiled over. Scarlett, I snarled. I'm telling you this right now. If every other woman on this planet dropped dead, I still wouldn't want you. I find you dirty. I said the words, and I saw it happen. The smile on her face didn't just fade, it shattered. The light in her eyes went out, extinguished in an instant, leaving behind nothing but a dead, gray ash. My words were a knife, and I had just plunged it straight into her heart. Back in my apartment, I collapsed onto my bed, utterly drained. My mind was a chaotic mess, flashing between Clara's cold smile and Scarlett's tear-streaked face. I ran my hands through my hair in frustration. My mind was a chaotic mess, flashing between Clara's cold smile and Scarlett's tear-streaked face. I ran my hands through my hair in frustration. Her face went bone-white. The drunken haze in her eyes vanished, replaced by a terrifying calm. She looked at me, her eyes dark and bottomless. You find me dirty? She repeated, her voice so low I could barely hear it. It sent an involuntary shiver down my spine. I felt a flicker of regret for being so harsh, but then I remembered what she had just done, and the feeling died. Yeah, I said, my voice hard. So please, stay away from me from now on. Stop playing these games. It's pathetic. Scarlett didn't speak. She just stared at me for what felt like a full minute. Then, she started to laugh. It wasn't her usual seductive laugh. This one was cold, unhinged, and laced with something that sounded like madness. Fine, she said, nodding slowly. Ethan, this was your choice. She turned, wrenched open her car door, and slid into the driver's seat. The Porsche's engine roared to life. She peeled out, the car shooting forward so fast it nearly clipped me. The wind it created stung my face. I stood on the curb, watching her taillights disappear into the darkness, a sick feeling twisting in my gut. Something felt very, very wrong. Whatever. I shook my head and went back inside. The whole night had been a circus. I fell into bed and passed out immediately. I woke up the next day around noon, my head throbbing, I reached for my phone to check the time and saw that it had died. I plugged it in, and as it booted up, it exploded with notifications. Dozens of missed calls, all from Clara, and a flood of texts. Answer your phone. Ethan, we need to talk. I can forget about what I saw last night. Call me back. I stared at the messages without a single flicker of emotion, except maybe a dark, bitter amusement. So now she wanted to talk. After she'd smiled so sweetly next to my boss, I deleted the texts and blocked her number. The world went quiet again. A woman like that wasn't worth another second of my time. I showered, went out for a greasy slice of deep dish pizza, and then took my phone to a repair shop. The guy said it would be a couple of hours, so I wandered around the neighborhood to kill time. As I passed a CVS, a familiar figure inside caught my eye. It was Scarlett. She was standing at the pharmacy counter, buying something. My first instinct was to turn and walk away, but then I saw what the cashier was scanning, a box for a pregnancy test. I stopped, thinking I must be seeing things. A pregnancy test? What for? Could it be? No. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. That one time. And it was supposed to be a safe time of the month. My heart started hammering against my ribs. A terrible premonition washed over me. I shook my head, trying to banish the insane thought. It was a coincidence. Or she was buying it for a friend. Yeah, that had to be it. I didn't dare look again. I hurried away. The next few days were quiet. I didn't hear from Clara. Scarlett was nowhere to be seen. I was happy for the peace. I went to work, came home, played some video games. Life was simple. Until Friday night. I was heading home after working late. As I stepped out of the elevator, I saw someone crouched in front of my apartment door. It was Scarlett. She was wearing a simple t-shirt and jeans. No makeup. She looked exhausted, and her eyes were red-rimmed, like she'd been crying. A plastic grocery bag sat on the floor next to her. My stomach dropped. What are you doing here? She looked up, her expression fragile. She didn't say a word, just held the bag out to me. I hesitated, then took it. I glanced inside. It was filled with snacks like sour pickles and candies, and a bottle of prenatal vitamins. On top of everything, lying there like a verdict, was the pregnancy test I'd seen her buy at the CVS. The box window showed 2 clear, damning pink lines. The world tilted on its axis. I nearly fell over. What? What is this? I managed to ask, my voice trembling. Scarlett stood up, her gaze steady. I'm pregnant, she said calmly, and it's yours. Her hand wrapped around my waist, her cheek resting on my chest. Her voice became soft, pleading. Ethan, marry me. Let's have this baby. We can be a family, the 3 of us. We can make it work. Please. I stood there, frozen solid, an arctic chill spreading through my veins. Marriage? To her? The thought had never even crossed my mind, not even in my worst nightmares. Impossible, I said, the word catching in my throat. I don't love you. That's okay, Scarlett said, looking up at me, a sweet, almost desperate smile on her face. I love you. That's enough to start. We can build the rest. Either way, she added, her tone hardening slightly, you're not getting rid of me. Not ever. She took the pregnancy test from the bag and pressed it into my hand. You have 3 days to think about it, she said. I'll come back on Monday for your answer. And if it's not the answer I want. She rose on her toes and blew a soft puff of air against my ear. You know what will happen. With that, she let go of me, turned, and walked into the elevator, giving me a little wave just before the doors closed. Think of me, okay? I stood in the empty hallway, feeling like I'd just been sentenced to death. The plastic test in my hand felt as heavy as a block of concrete. I was screwed. That was the only thought in my head. The next 2 days were a living hell. I couldn't eat, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Scarlett's smiling face and those 2 mocking pink lines. What was I supposed to do? Marry her? I didn't love her. I was scared of her. But if I said no, I knew she wasn't bluffing. She would burn my entire life to the ground. My job, my reputation, my parents. I couldn't even imagine what that conversation would be like. On Monday morning, I called in sick to work and waited for her, like a prisoner waiting for the executioner. At 9 o'clock sharp, the doorbell rang. I took a deep breath and opened the door. Scarlett stood there, wearing a pretty sundress, looking radiant. Have you decided? She asked with a smile. I looked at her, my mind a blank wall of despair. After a long silence, I finally closed my eyes in resignation. Okay, I whispered. I'll take responsibility. Her eyes lit up. Really? Yeah, I said, my voice hollow. We'll have the baby, and we'll get married. Oh, Ethan. She threw her arms around me and kissed me on the cheek. I knew you wouldn't abandon me, and the baby. I stood there like a statue, my heart a dead weight in my chest. But Scarlett pulled back slightly, tilting her head. Words aren't enough. I need to see some real commitment. What kind of commitment? Well, she pulled a small, folded document out her purse. Her birth certificate. How about we go make it official? Right now. I stared at the document, and my scalp prickled with dread. Isn't that a little fast? What's fast about it? Scarlett pouted. The baby can't wait. Unless. Her eyes went cold. Are you trying to back out? The instantaneous shift in her demeanor sent a chill down my spine. No. Then let's go. She linked her arm through mine, her grip like iron. Already checked. Today is a very auspicious day. Perfect for a wedding. I felt like a puppet as she dragged me out the door, every step heavier than the last. As we reached the street to hail a cab, a familiar voice called out from behind us. Ethan. My body went rigid. I turned around slowly. Clara was standing a few feet away, her face pale, her eyes locked on Scarlett's arm looped through mine. Her pupils constricted. Where? Where are you two going? I opened my mouth, but no words came out. What could I possibly say? Scarlett, however, just smiled and leaned against me. We're going to City Hall to get our marriage license. Clara, would you like to be our witness? Clara's eyes widened in disbelief. License? You too. That's right. Scarlett patted her stomach sweetly. I'm pregnant, and Ethan's going to do the right thing and take responsibility. Clara's head snapped toward me, her gaze like a physical blow. Ethan, is what she's saying true? I could only manage a slow, miserable nod. Yes. The last traces of color drained from Clara's face. She stared at me, her lips trembling. So all of it was a lie? The 3 years you spent chasing me? Were you sleeping with my best friend the whole time? Ethan, you're unbelievable, she said, her voice rising, attracting stares from people passing by. What? Were you trying to start a harem? Did you think it would be hot to have us both? My face was burning with shame. It's not what you think. Then what is it? Clara shrieked. You're a cheater, a liar. She lunged forward, her hand raised to slap me, but Scarlett caught her wrist in a flash. Hey, let's use our words, Scarlett said with a cold smile. He's my man now. You break him, you buy him. And you can't afford him. Clara was shaking with rage. Scarlett, have you no shame? Stealing your best friend's boyfriend. Who's the shameless one here? Scarlett shot back. You strung him along for 3 years, never giving him the time of day, then dumped him for some rich old guy. Now that you see he's with me, you come running back pretending you care? God, Clara, you really have perfected that whole innocent victim act. You. Clara was speechless, tears welling in her eyes. She turned to me. Ethan, are you just going to stand there and let her talk to me like that? Caught between them, my head felt like it was going to split open. Can we just? Everybody calm down. Why should I be calm? Scarlett retorted, not backing down. She's the one who came looking for a fight. What? Are you still hung up on her? Can't bear to see your precious ice queen upset. As she spoke, she suddenly clutched her stomach. Oh, my stomach hurts. I think it's the stress. If something happens to the baby. Her eyes filled with tears, her performance worthy of an Oscar. I panicked. Are you okay? Do we need to go to the hospital? Scarlett sagged against me, shaking her head weakly. No, just make her leave. I don't want to see her. I had no choice. I looked at Clara. You should probably go. Clara stared at me, her expression one of utter betrayal. You're kicking me out? For her. Watch your mouth. I snapped, my patience gone. She's pregnant. She can't be under this kind of stress. Clara looked at me, at the way I was shielding Scarlett in my arms. A broken, ugly laugh escaped her lips. Wow, wow, she spat. Ethan, I was so wrong about you. I hope you two have a wonderful life together. You deserve each other. With that, she turned and ran, her shoulders shaking. My first instinct was to go after her, but Scarlett's grip on my arm was like a vice. Where do you think you're going? Feeling sentimental? She asked, her voice dangerously low. Let me make one thing clear, Ethan. From now on, I'm the only woman in your life. If I ever catch you even thinking about another woman. She narrowed her eyes. I'll take this baby and disappear, and I'll make sure you spend the rest of your life wondering if we're dead or alive. I looked in her wild, intense eyes and felt a deep, primal fear. I knew she meant every word. I understand, I said quietly. Good boy. Her expression instantly softened. She leaned in and gave me a quick kiss. Now let's go get married. Hubby. That word made my skin crawl, but I just nodded numbly. Okay. A cab pulled up. Scarlett happily pulled me into the back seat. City Hall, please, she chirped to the driver. The car pulled into traffic. I stared out the window as the city slid by in a blur, my mind a hollow void. This was it. I was getting married. To a woman I didn't love. Because of a child I never planned for. What a fucking joke my life had become. At City Hall, we filled out the forms, took the awkward photo, and stood before a clerk who mumbled through a short ceremony. I moved through it all like a zombie, a ghost in my own wedding. It wasn't until the stamped and signed marriage license was in my hands that the reality of it hit me. I was married to Scarlett. In the eyes of the law, she was my wife. "You're mine now," she whispered, linking her arm through mine, her smile radiant. "And you're never, ever getting away." I looked at her bright, triumphant face, and all I felt was a suffocating dread. This wasn't a marriage. It was a prison sentence, and I had just walked through the gates. What was I going to do with the rest of my life? Staring down at the marriage certificate, I felt a despair so profound it threatened to swallow me whole.